Welcome and good morning, class. Welcome back to Introductory Psychology. Welcome to week 5. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. The weather is nice. I know we got kind of a weird hot week, but it's starting to cool down. Maybe getting some rain, starting to feel a little like fall. State Fair is here. Another big weekend. OSU and OU win. That's a great weekend for our state when both teams can win. So good weekend overall. Glad we're back. Just wanted to talk about a few things for this week. Of course, Exam 1 is still up and active until tomorrow evening at 11:59 p.m. I think at least half the class, maybe more, has taken the exam. And so far, the results have been pretty good. I'm seeing some positive results. So if you have not taken the exam, of course, you have until tomorrow at 11:59 to take the exam. So be sure to do that. Once you have taken the exam, go ahead and start reading Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is a big one. We're looking at learning, and this is a big area of specialties area for me because I study educational psychology at OU, which is the branch of psychology that's primarily interested in how human beings learn. So read Chapter 5. It's a really important chapter. There are a lot of goals for this chapter. You're going to learn what learning is, something you've been doing your whole life, but you probably never thought about defining what learning is. We're going to be looking at the principles and methods of classical conditioning, the applications of classical conditioning, the principles and methods of operant conditioning, as well as the applications of operant conditioning. And we're going to be discussing cognitive factors of learning as well, what's going on between the ears when we're attempting to learn. But I really want you to be focused on the difference between classical and operant conditioning. When we're talking about learning, when we talk about classical conditioning, we're talking about reflexive involuntary behaviors. Maybe you've heard of Pavlov's dog before. Pavlov rang the bell, his dog salivated every time he rang the bell because he anticipated food. That's a perfect example of classical conditioning. So you'll also need to be aware of operant conditioning, which is the difference. It's the learning of voluntary behaviors from rewards and consequences, also known as reinforcement and punishment. And it gets a little tricky with operant conditioning because we're talking about positive and negative reinforcement, positive and negative punishment. But it's important to remember that in psychology, typically when you hear the words positive or negative, they have nothing to do with good or bad. It really has to do with addition and subtraction. So when we talk about positive reinforcement, we're talking about giving you something to increase your behavior. If you get paid at work, it's going to increase the likelihood that you come to work. Negative reinforcement is taking something away to increase your behavior. So, in your car, when you don't buckle your seatbelt and that thing is, that warning light is blinking at you and it's really annoying, when you plug in your seatbelt, that's negative reinforcement. You're taking away that annoying sound by increasing your behavior of buckling your seatbelt. Punishment, on the other hand, is meant to discourage behaviors. Positive punishment isn't going to give you something to discourage your behavior. Typically, children, you spank children. Corporal punishment is an example. If you yell in the store, I'm going to spank you. That's meant to discourage behavior. Negative punishment, of course, is taking something away to discourage behavior. So grounding, would be another example if we're going with kids. But it's really important not to mix up reinforcement and punishment, because oftentimes you hear people mix up negative reinforcement with punishment, and they're not the same thing. Some people hear that word negative, and it's they think of punishment, but it's not quite the same thing. So for this week's discussion post, I'm going to have you provide your own examples of classical and operant conditioning. So it's really important that you understand the difference between the two, and you understand some of the nuances and terms associated with each form of learning. So this week's discussion post will be asking you to draw upon your own personal experiences and finding ways to relate to these two topics, classical and operant conditioning. So I will be pretty picky about your discussion post this week, about you actually using the content correctly, because it's kind of tricky, and I just want to make sure we're all on the same page before we leave this chapter. So if you have any questions about, as you're reading this text, because it can get a little confusing because there's just a lot of terms, a lot of definitions, a lot of them that are related. So easy to mix things up is what I'm trying to say. So if you have any questions or concerns at all, feel free to email me. Feel free to post on the discussion board, hey, I'm confused about this, or I need a little more explanation, and I'll be happy to do that. So this week, if you haven't done so, please finish up Exam 1. Once you've done so, complete exam number 5, and then go ahead and complete the discussion post. Remember, you need to complete your discussion post in a timely manner. and also respond to 2 of your peers' posts. All of this needs to be done by Friday. So again, if you have any questions or concerns whatsoever, let me know. I'd be happy to help you out. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the exam results. So far, they've been really good, and I'm pretty happy with that. So for your first exam. Anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. Get back to enjoying your weekend. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. All right, take care. Bye.